Hey there, crafty friends. My name's Misty, and welcome to Gleespen Designs. If you're new here, let me know down in the comments. I would love to say hi, and if you've been here before, welcome back. As you can probably tell, fall crafting has definitely taken over the crafting world. However, in my hometown of Ohio, August is usually the hottest month of the summer, so it's a little bit hard to get into fall or decorate for fall with it being so hot out. So in today's video, I made some everyday DIY decor that you can use all year round, and then I also threw in a few pre-fall DIYs, and by that I mean when the time is right, you can put these subtle little hints of fall out so that you can kickstart those cozy fall vibes, which is my absolute favorite. Also, in today's video, not only are we making some gorgeous DIY home decor, if you like luxury perfume or would like to try luxury perfume without those crazy prices, stick around to the end of the video because trust me, I've got you covered. With all that being said, let's get crafting. For this DIY, I'm starting off with these two wood rounds from Dollar Tree. Sometimes these can be a little bit difficult to find, so if you cannot find them, these wreath charms, I believe that's what they are also from Dollar Tree. They will work perfect as well. So all I did was cut off the hanger, and then I'm going to use some Dollar Tree spackling to fill in the hole completely so that there is no longer a hole in the wood round. Once the hole was filled in, I gave it a good sanding, and I also sanded the sides as well because they can kind of be a little bit rough on the sides of these wood rounds, so I sanded those down so that they were nice and smooth. Then I'm going to use my white Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the color Linen White, and I give both of these wood rounds a nice complete coat. Next, I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree metal ribbon. I absolutely love working with this stuff, and honestly, I couldn't figure out which one I like better. So I just figured I would do both of them so that I could show you guys both of these styles. So I'm going to straighten out the ribbon, and I want it to kind of have an older aged look to it. And I also want to kind of get rid of that silver. So I use some of my antiquing wax from Walmart, I believe it is. And I just take a chippy brush and I start kind of dry brushing this on. And it gives it a really, really pretty color. I absolutely love this. And I do both of those pieces of ribbon with that antique wax. And once again, you guys, you can keep it the silver if that's how you like it, but I'm just kind of going off with my own home decor. I always tell you guys to just do what you like to do. This is mainly just for inspiration. So once I had them to the color that I liked them, which you guys, you can also paint them or whatever you would like, honestly. This metal ribbon you can do a lot of things with. So now I'm just going to take the ribbon and I wrap it around the wood round that we painted white. And I just used the Gorilla Glue hot glue sticks. Now, if you do not use a good glue, the metal ribbon does not stick very well. So make sure you use some good, whether it's super glue, Gorilla Glue, just use some type of good glue to keep this together. Also, for anyone who does not know this already, the things that I use in my videos, I usually have a link down in the description box so that you guys can also buy these items like the Gorilla Glue hot glue sticks, my Gorilla Glue hot glue gun, things like that. You can directly click on the link and buy them right off of my Amazon store. So if there's ever anything that you need, check down there in the description box and I should have a link right to it. And if for some reason I forgot, just leave me a comment nicely saying, hey Misty, you forgot to add this link or that, and I will get that to you and put it in the description box. So as you can see, I used the metal ribbon and glued both of them going around each one of the wood rounds. For this next part, I was actually going to use some of the Dollar Tree glass candlestick holders, but I did find two of these candlestick holders at my local Goodwill, and they were kind of an off-white color, so I went in with that white Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the color Linen White, and I gave both of the candlesticks a complete coat. Once both the candlestick holders were dry, I used my Gorilla Glue hot glue again. If you do not have a strong hot glue, use E6000 or some type of strong glue, because if you're going to put anything heavy on these, you want it to hold. So I used the Gorilla Glue hot glue sticks, put some on top of the candlestick holder, and then I glue it to the center of the wood round. I absolutely love how easy these are to make. I mean, we just did a few steps there and we have these gorgeous little stands, and you can put so many different things on these as well. So of course I did the same steps with the second wood round, and here is how this DIY turned out.
I've been waiting all my life for something. I've been down the darkest roads and up in the clouds, but I've always felt that something's missing. That was until I found you right there in the crowd. You came into my life and started a fire.
For this DIY, you'll need a glass vase from Dollar Tree, and I do want to say the more curves it has, the more difficult it is to make. Not that this is very difficult, but just the curves make it a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to use the white Rust-Oleum chalk paint, and I add a little bit of baking soda into the paint so that it thickens the paint up quite a bit. And I'm talking like you want it to be at least like a toothpaste type texture. And then I'm going to paint it right onto the glass vase. And what I'm going for is a really nice thick coat to where it has texture to it, because I want this to look like it still is a textured vase. And by still textured, I mean once we add the tissue paper, I still want you to be able to see that there is texture on the vase. So I just take the paint and baking soda mixture and I completely cover the vase, and I wanted to make sure that I left those brush strokes in there so that it had that type of texture. You could stipple this on as well if you would like that texture, but this is the type that I liked and I think it is absolutely gorgeous. Once the base is completely covered and dry, you can use any type of gift wrap, tissue paper, stuff, whatever this is called. This is from Dollar Tree. It's like tissue box paper, I believe it's called. And I, again, want the wrinkles. I want the texture. You could do this smooth if you would like to. This is just how I like mine. So I crinkle the tissue paper up and then I somewhat flatten it out. And then I'm going to use my Mod Podge, add a little bit on just a certain, like, one area. I'm not going to do a really large area. You do want to do this kind of in sections. I found that that is the easiest way to do this. And once you have the Mod Podge on, just place the tissue paper on, and then I just take my finger and kind of start smoothing it out. There you go. Once again, this is not very difficult to do, but like I said, the more bends or curves that the glass has, the more difficult it is to get it completely flat. Now, I didn't mind any wrinkles or anything like that because that's kind of what I was going for. But if you're wanting yours to be nice and flat and smooth, the less curves in the glass, the better. And once I had that section down, I just kind of folded it over, added some more Mod Podge, laid the tissue paper back down, and then started smoothing it out again with my finger. Once that piece was down, I went ahead and used my zip sander to sand off the bigger piece that was hanging on so that I can add more Mod Podge onto the other side of the vase and then start laying that tissue paper back down onto the vase and start covering it completely. And again, you're just adding Mod Podge, placing the tissue paper onto the vase and smoothing it out with your fingers. Or you could use a paintbrush. I mean, you could use whatever you would like to smooth it out. I just use my finger because that I get less ripping or anything like that could damage the tissue paper when I use my finger. So as you can tell, you're just going to kind of piece together this base until you have it completely covered. And then I do go over it with a very, very thin layer of Mod Podge all over the entire vase. Then I just used my zip sander to sand off any of the excess tissue paper that is hanging off of the vase, and because I used sandpaper, I did have to go in and touch up a little bit of areas up here at the top of the vase where the sandpaper kind of pulled the paint off. But once I did that, this DIY was done and I love it, and I feel like it looks like somebody painted this onto a textured vase. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments.
It made me feel like I could touch the sky. Oh, there's nothing missing now that you're my desire. Now all I have to do is to make you mine. 'Cause I know, and you know what we could be. Like a song, like a
Let me just start off by saying this DIY is so stinking cute, and if you are a candle person or a smellies person like I am, you're going to love this DIY. So you need one of these little trinket pumpkins from Dollar Tree, and I grabbed a few of their glass candles and melted those, pulled out the wick, and I did cut it down, and then I'm just going to hot glue it right into the center of the little pumpkin. Once the wick is glued down, you'll need something to prop the wick up so that it stands up straight while the wax is drying, and I just use a bamboo stick to kind of prop that up, and then I use one of the pillar candles, and I only have a quarter of one of these pillar candles in here. You do not want to fill it all of the way because you will be putting more wax in here, but as you can see, I did add a little bit of glitter as well. Now, I want this candle to smell amazing and look amazing, and you guys, this would be such an adorable gift as well, but I'm using some fresh cinnamon sticks, and I'm going to remove the larger pieces, the ones that are still intact, because I actually like using those as pumpkin stems. There's so many different things you can do with them. So I just take the broken pieces, and then I start smashing them up even more. You can use a hammer for this. I obviously used whatever I had on hand. You want your candle wax that you had poured in previously to be completely hardened, and then you're just going to pour in a tiny bit of wax on top of that so that you can add your crushed up pieces of cinnamon stick and they will not fall completely to the bottom, and you can still kind of see them poking through the top, but they are still in the wax as well. I like to do this step because as you're burning your candle and the wax starts to melt, you start seeing some of those cinnamon sticks poking through, and it just looks so pretty. Once that little bit of wax just starts to harden, I add the rest of the pieces of cinnamon stick right on top for embellishment. Now put the lid back on and you have this gorgeous pumpkin candle. And here's the thing, you can do this exact same thing with so many different things from Dollar Tree. I also did it with one of these glass jars that last year it actually said not to put anything hot inside of it, but this year it does not have that on the label anymore, so maybe they upgraded the glass. So I just placed the lid on, and look at these leather tags from Dollar Tree. I'm obsessed with these. I place it right over top of the lid onto the jar, and talk about an adorable gift. I love how these turned out.
the one forever. Finally, I got you, baby, here in my heart. When I'm with you, I feel so much better. Oh, yeah. Before you, I was just a shell, so stuck in the dark. You came into my life and started a fire. You made me feel like I could touch the sky. Oh, there's nothing missing now that you're my desire. Now all I have to do is to make you mine. 'Cause I know, and you know what we could be. Like a song, like a perfect melody. Baby, don't say you don't believe in me. 'Cause you know, and I know we're on to...
For this DIY, I found these really nice thick leaves from Dollar Tree, and I knew I wanted to dress them up a little bit and turn them into my style, and I was going to make 2 of these at first, but I did decide just to do the one because unfortunately where I'm putting these, I don't have that much space, so I did only make the one. However, all I did was paint the sides with the white Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the color Linen White. Next, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree peel and stick wallpapers. Now, I did this a little bit difficult because I took it off here and stuck it onto the leaf, I would suggest, and you can do it this way if you have an X-Acto knife, which that's how I was going to do it, but of course I could not find my X-Acto knife when I needed it. So I placed it onto the leaf and I traced the leaf out, and then I just cut it out with my scissors. But I do suggest, if you do not have an X-Acto knife and you have to trace the leaf out, just leave it on the paper. Don't stick it onto the leaf. Put the leaf on the back of the peel and stick wallpaper, like while it's still on its backing, trace it out, then cut out the leaf and stick it onto the leaf. But like I said, if you do have an X-Acto knife, you could just place the peel and stick wallpaper right on the leaf and then cut off the excess. Then once you have it all cut out, you can stick it right down onto the leaf, and you could leave it just like this. I think it looks gorgeous and high end. However, I wanted it to match my home decor, and of course I lost a little bit of footage, but all I'm doing is this technique right here, which is lightly dry brushing. And first I went in with the Hello Hobby Folk Art Spanish Moss. And then I went in with the Hello Hobby Sage, which you could also use any colors that you would like. I dry brushed this on just so that it was lightly covered. Then once it was dry, I went back in with some sandpaper and sanded it down. I really paid a lot of attention to the edges around the leaf, and then I also sanded it down a little bit in the center as well. And I love how quick and easy this is, and it turns out super pretty.
Follow your heart, baby, don't be shy. Just follow yours and I'll follow mine. 'Cause I know.
For this DIY, I'm using 6 of the window arches from Dollar Tree. I could not find 6 of them all in the white color, so I did have to throw in a few black, but that's okay because I'm going to be painting them anyways. They all have these really cute little signs on the front of them, and I just pulled them off very easily, and I do keep these signs for later so that I can use them in other crafts as well. So definitely don't throw them out because you will eventually find a use for them. To make my window arches longer, I place one of the arches on top of another one, and I use my pencil just to mark where I want to cut it. And where I placed it is just high enough so that you do not see the curve. So right when the curve starts, that's where you want to cut it. Next, I use my hot knife, which is an amazing tool. You guys have probably seen me use it in quite a few videos. If you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you've probably seen me use this tool. I love this tool. It is so handy, and there's just so many different things you can do with it. I mean, you can burn wood, carve into wood, cut things, obviously. It's just super neat. And I will have this hot knife linked down in the description box so that if you guys wanted to check it out, you definitely could. As you can see, I just take the hot knife and I start cutting it where I made all of those pencil marks, and then just snap it right off. And then I use my zip sander to sand off any pieces that are kind of sharp or jagged and make sure it is all nice and flat. Now, I actually make 2 of these arches, so I do this to another one as well, but I do not show it just because it's repetitive. So the next part, you're going to very easily cut right where that first line is going across, and you just take that hot knife and cut those pieces down, and once again, it will snap right off. And what's great about the hot knife is, as you can see, it's cutting a lot faster. As it warms up and heats up, it starts cutting things like butter, like super, super easy and nice and quick. Then once that piece snaps off, I do take the zip sander again and sand it down nice and smooth so that when you add all the pieces together, everything fits perfect. Once everything is sanded, I lay everything out kind of where I want to place them, and then I use some E6000, and then I also use the Gorilla Glue hot glue to glue this together. You want to make sure that you, again, have a very strong glue because you want this to hold for a very long time. As you can see, I take the first piece that we cut, which is the longer piece, I add all of the glue, and then I glue it right to the arch that is all still intact. Then once I have that piece in place, I take the second piece, which is the one that we cut right across that line, and then I add some Gorilla Glue and E6000, and again, glue that right to the bottom of the second piece. I have also seen a few other channels do something really neat with these window frames. I will have them linked down below in the description box. Now to make this even more sturdy, I flip it over to the back and I use some craft sticks and I glue them wherever the pieces were glued together onto the window frame, like where any of the seams are. And some of them I did have to cut down to place like on the sides where the seams are because the craft sticks were a little too wide. But if you use the normal size craft sticks or popsicle sticks, whatever you want to call them, they will definitely fit a lot better. But this is what I had, so I just cut a few down and placed them wherever the seams were and made sure that they were glued together. Once the window frame was all glued together, I used some Dollar Tree spackling and I just placed it where I glued any of the window frame pieces together so that it all looked like it was one piece. So just fill in any cracks or any seams and it will look like it is all one cohesive piece. Once you have the spackling on, you can go ahead and sand it down if you need to. I just went ahead and used my finger to smooth it out so that it was nice and flat. But again, if you need to, you can sand it down. Now let me just say, I did try to spray paint this, but as you can see, it was kind of hard to get down into those window areas on the sides. So I went ahead and just used my white Rust-Oleum chalk paint and painted the window frame so that it was all white. Now I know distressing is not for everyone, so if you do not want to distress your window frames, just leave them as is, but I went ahead and distressed mine with my antiquing wax. And again, I just kind of distressed mine because it really kind of gives me more of a fall vibe when things are a little bit distressed, I guess. I don't know, that's just me, but you guys do these however you would like them, whatever color you would like them, and they will turn out beautiful. I want to be able to put a little wreath onto these window frames, so I used these tiny little command hooks from Dollar Tree. They normally have a shiny white look, so I did go ahead and give them a coat of the Rust-Oleum white chalk paint in the color linen white, just like I did with the window frame. And look at, it was difficult to get that backing off of that thing for whatever reason. So I just stuck it down up close to the top on the window frame, and then I used my antiquing wax just to kind of have it blend in a little bit with the window frame. For the wreath, there's many ways that you can make a really little wreath form, and I used this garland from Dollar Tree that was from around Christmas time last year. You could also use the single garland, like not garland, but single pine strips that they have where they come in a 12-pack. Really anything wired, you could use the wired jute from Dollar Tree and just twist it into a circle shape so that you have a wreath form. You could even use pipe cleaners, just kind of twist a few pipe cleaners together so that it's thicker and then twist it into a circle. So as you can see, I just cut it down so a lot of those pine needles were not very long, and then I twisted it into the circle shape that I needed for the wreath form. For your greenery, you could use whatever greenery you would like. Dollar Tree has many beautiful different greeneries now, especially if you would like to use fall greeneries. They have some gorgeous fall florals. So I actually used this greenery from Walmart, and all I did was just kind of push all of the pieces off so that they were into individual pieces, and then I just glued them down onto the wreath form where I wanted them to be. And all I did was just kind of lay them down overlapping each other as I glued each one down until the wreath form was nice and full and you have a really cute little wreath. I wanted my wreath to be really simple so that you guys could use your imagination and add whatever you would like, whether that be pumpkins or any other seasonal items. For the bow, I showed you guys this really neat mesh tube ribbon in my last video from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to make a double loop bow, which is really simple. All I'm going to do is place the tube ribbon into the Cancer Awareness ribbon shape, pinching it in the center where it is kind of together, and then I make a second loop, push that loop in front of the first, pinch it in the same place, and then you're going to grab them up at the top in the center and kind of push them down to where you're holding the ribbon in place. And now you have these 2 loops, and all you have to do is take some jute twine or another ribbon, whatever you would like, and tie a knot in the center to hold the bow together. When I'm making my bows and I tie it off in the center, I do tie it tight, but not super tight. I want to be able to kind of pull the loops out here like I'm doing so that they are the size and where I want them to be. And if you have it really tight, you definitely cannot move them around. So then I just cut off any excess jute twine and cut my tails how I would like them to be at the length that I would like them to be. And you have this really cute bow. Now I just use my hot glue gun and glue the bow right up at the top of the wreath, and then I can just hook it right onto that camion hook. And like I said, I did make 2 of these, so I repeated all of these same steps one more time to make these gorgeous window frames. And I love the fact that you can change out the wreaths for each season.
I've been waiting all my life for something. I've been down the darkest roads and up in the clouds, but I've always felt that something's missing. That was until I found you right there in the crowd. You came into my life and started a fire.
For this DIY, I'm using one of these wood pumpkins from Dollar Tree. This is the one with the raised areas, like the 3-dimensional parts. I cut off the hanger and I took off the little bow because we no longer need those. Also, do not paint your pumpkin black. I was going to go a different route with this pumpkin and then I decided to change it up, so don't worry about painting it black. I just don't want you guys to be like, wait a minute, why all of a sudden is your pumpkin black, Misty? So leave your pumpkin the way it is and then use one of these 3-dimensional sticky wall tiles or whatever they are from Dollar Tree, and then you're just going to place the tile onto the pumpkin. Now I like the design that's in the center of the tile, so I'm going to make sure that part is in the center of my pumpkin when I lay the tile down. Once I had the tile stuck down where I wanted it, I went ahead and flipped it over to the back and then just used a pen to trace out the pumpkin. Once I had the pumpkin all traced out, I went ahead and used my hot knife again to go ahead and cut off the excess around the pumpkin. And I just have to say, this is so satisfying to do. A lot of the times I didn't even realize it was cutting because it was so smooth. So you see me there like checking like, wait, did it cut? And it definitely cut as soon as I put it down onto any piece, it starts to cut through it. So I love this tool and I feel like it is a crafter's must-have. I just simply traced around the pumpkin with the hot knife and then removed any of the excess. Now, as I'm sure most of you know, once you start cutting these tiles, they do fall apart. So all I did was remove the top part of the tile, the main actual part, and then I did not remove the entire white piece here. I just went ahead and cut out the 3-dimensional parts where I'm going to be placing the tile back on, because I did find out through trial and error a few times that the tile actually sticks better to this like backing that was originally on it than it does like painted wood or a lot of other materials. So again, I just went ahead and took my hot knife and went all the way around that stuff and cut off the excess, and then I hot glued the top piece of the tile right back down. Then I just kind of take my scissors to remove a piece so that I can know where I'm starting at least. And it's not very hard to figure out where you have to cut because you can feel those 3-dimensional areas really easily. So once again, I just take that hot knife and I start going around all the 3-dimensional parts and just removing any of that excess tile. And again, let me just say, this was very satisfying to do for whatever reason. So once I had removed all of the excess tile around those 3-dimensional raised areas on the pumpkin, I did take my zip sander once again and just go through and kind of smooth out the edges in case there's any little sharp, jagged pieces. You could very easily also just take a piece of sandpaper and kind of fold it around your finger to get in between those areas as well. Now you guys, I actually really like that black and silver. You could leave it just like this if that is your decor style. but I wanted to go with a little bit more of my own home decor style. So I used the white Rust-Oleum chalk paint and I gave the entire pumpkin a nice coat. However, I do think that black and silver pumpkin would be great for Halloween, and then this one be more of a fall type pumpkin. So next I took the Hello Hobby in the color Sage, and I did a nice dry brushing over the raised areas on the tile. And as you're doing this, those raised areas really pick up that paint, and then they come out so much more, and it is just so beautiful. Oh, and that Hello Hobby paint in the color Sage I did get from Walmart. So now I'm going to take some jute twine that I got from Dollar Tree, and I added a little bit of hot glue onto the back of the pumpkin, placed the jute twine down, and then I'm going to wrap it around the stem on the pumpkin. And you did see me have to put a little dab of hot glue on the front side because where it is curved, the jute twine didn't necessarily want to stay where I wanted it to stay. So I just glued it down with a little dot of hot glue, and then I started wrapping the stem of the pumpkin. And I'm not really doing it completely perfect. I did kind of go this way and that way, but I did completely cover it. For the bow, I actually got this entire set of like jute or burlap ribbon, I guess you would call it. It's kind of like a trim. It's really, really pretty, and I just picked out a few colors, and I did get this off of Amazon, and I will have it linked down below in the description box if you would like to check those out as well. So I also added a few of these ribbons from Dollar Tree, and I cut them at about 6 inches, and I take each one of the ribbons and I make 2 pieces at 6 inches. So you guys, this is why normally I totally skip bow tutorials because I'm just not very good at explaining them at all. So bear with me, I truly apologize. So again, all I'm doing is taking each one of the ribbons, and you can use as many or as little ribbons as you would like for this bow. It is just a messy bow, and you really cannot mess this one up. I also decided to add some of this white, really funky ribbon from Dollar Tree. I just felt like it added a really nice texture, and it also brought out the white in the pumpkin a little bit more. And then I thought I was going to want some of this brown in, so I cut a few of those strips as well, but don't mind that at all because I do end up taking those brown pieces out. So next, after you have all of your pieces cut, you're just going to start laying them down in an X shape right onto your surface. And I just take each piece and kind of match them up and make an X until I have done that with all of the ribbons. Now this is just how I personally do it. I know a lot of people actually do not even match the ribbons up as they lay them down. They just kind of mix them all up, grab them out of the pile, and just lay them down as they're grabbing them. But I like my bows to be a little bit more like cohesive so that they have the same ribbons on each side. So that's just how I do it, but you could do it however you would like. Then you just take a piece of jute twine or ribbon, whatever you would like, to tie your bow into place. Once I have the bow nice and secure, I go ahead and push the ribbons up through my hand, and then I cut the ribbons down so that they are all the same length. And then you can leave them just like this if you would like. If you have any ribbons that you can dovetail, you can go ahead and do that. I just simply did that to the Dollar Tree burlap ribbon. And then once I have these cut down and all dovetailed, your bow is pretty much done. And I was going to cut off these jute twine pieces, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to tie it right onto the top of the pumpkin where the stem is, and that's exactly what I did. You can glue this down if you would like to. I just simply tied it right on to the pumpkin. Once the bow was tied on, of course, you can stop there, but of course, I have to go one step further, and I have these little flowers from Dollar Tree. They are absolutely adorable. However, they are super white, and I did want to kind of just darken them up a little bit or give them a little bit more detail. I'm not really sure, but I just like how it turned out. So I used some antiquing wax, placed it really lightly onto the flower, and then glued it to the center of the bow. Then I go ahead and use some more of those Walmart pick pieces and place them right underneath the bow on either side. And once you have done that, this DIY is done, and I am absolutely obsessed with how gorgeous this turned out.
'Cause I know, and you know what
Okay, friends, let's talk about something that I've been obsessed with for a while now. Dossier. Dossier is a very affordable, inspired by high-end luxury and niche fragrance company. You've probably already heard about Dossier, especially if you've been on TikTok. They went crazy viral on TikTok for their inspired by fragrances. And I mean, everyone was talking about them. From popular brands like Chanel, YSL, Gucci, Kilian's, MFK, Tom Ford, Versace, and so many more. However, the main reason they went viral is because you cannot tell the difference between their fragrance and the inspired by fragrance. They are so spot on. I have two of their perfumes right now, one of them being the Ambery Vanilla, which is inspired by the YSL Black Opium, which is super popular, and instead of paying $104, it is only $29. And then I also have the Ambery Saffron, which is my personal favorite. It is inspired by the MFK's Baccarat Rouge 540. I hope I said that right. And it says it retails at $300. However, when I looked it up, it actually was $439. And it was only 20 milliliters more than their bottle. So yeah, I definitely think Dossier has the better deal. And not only that, Dossier is vegan, cruelty-free, and they have a risk-free program where you can order up to 5 bottles of their perfume. And as long as you order 3 or more, you do get free shipping. You can try the bottles. If you do not like the smell, you can send it back. Yes, I know it can be hard to shop online for a perfume, especially if you've never smelt it before. So Dossier has a quiz where they can actually ask you a few questions and help you find the perfume that is perfect for you. Dossier has a welcoming offer on their website for up to 20% on the website, and they also have a new payment method that lets you earn store credit. Select Catch at the end of your checkout, and you will earn a $10 bonus credit. And not only that, you will get rewarded with 10% off store credit on every order. And of course, I also have a 10% off coupon code for you guys, which is Gleespen Designs 10. So what are you waiting for? Go make some heads turn. And thank you guys so very much for watching today's video. I would love to know what DIY was your favorite out of today's video. And I truly hope you all enjoyed these DIYs as much as I enjoy sharing them with you. And with that being said, I hope you all have a blessed day, and I hope to see you all and a few new friends on the next one. Bye!